Welcome to the Christ in Private Practice podcast, where we empower Christian counselors and share stories of God's work in mental health. I'm your host, Camille McDaniel, licensed professional counselor. Let's dive in. Welcome back. Welcome back for those who have been listeners, and welcome to everyone who is a new listener. We have a wonderful guest today. We are going to be talking about a topic that I think is very timely, and that is going to be how do we show up for clients when our lives as mental health professionals are falling apart. And that could be falling apart in a multitude of ways, which we will talk about later. But first, our guest is Crystal Wilson-Payne. She's a licensed professional counselor right here in the state of Georgia. And she actually has two focus areas for her own practice, which is in Norcross. She has a focus on being very passionate about helping women discover their self-worth and boost their self-esteem, find healthy balance in their lives, and discover their self-worth through self-care. And then she also supports families, from guiding couples toward healthy marriages to strengthening parent-child connections and assisting with co-parenting dynamics. She believes heavily that the rapport and relationship that she builds with her clients is of the utmost importance as it relates to healing and transformation. So thank you so much, Crystal, for talking with me and talking to our listeners today.
Thank you for having me, Camille.
Absolutely. Well, we're gonna jump right in. Like I was saying in the beginning, this is actually quite timely because this is a election week where we voted a couple of days ago. We got the results back. And as with all elections, every 4 years, there's just a multitude of feelings. So some people may have already gone into the elections with things that were challenging them, feeling like, I'm just holding my own life together and now I have to show up for clients. And that has been compounded by some different things that have taken place during this week. So we see online in mental health spaces, we see online in non-mental health spaces that people are going through a variety of expression of emotion. So let's kind of just jump right in with that. Why do you think it's kind of challenging for mental health professionals like ourselves to just navigate their own personal crisis while they are also trying to serve their clients and other people?
Well, in a general sense, I think at the top of the list is many of us maybe feel pressure to have it together because we are therapists, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that there's this image that we may not have necessarily invited upon ourselves, but this image that if you're helping other people with their life, then your life it has to be together. And so we are faced with the reality that that's not how that works.
Mm.
I'm trained. I have gifts, right? I went to school. God has blessed me with a certain way with people. All of that is true. That does not mean that my life or that life doesn't life for me as well.
Absolutely. Hello, somebody. Okay. Hello. Okay.
Sure.
That's a good one because you're right. Sometimes, and I've even had a client or two say, I was looking for somebody who seemed to have their stuff together. You couldn't be worse off than me. And funny because I would think but how would you know? Because we want to make sure that you're coming to us because we have the tools, the skills, the training. But that doesn't mean that, like you said, that life is not lifing us. And so, well, when we are dealing with major issues, so it could be like marital discord, it could be that we're having a challenge with one of our children, whether it happens to be behavioral or maybe we got a bad diagnosis or somebody in our family passed away. There's really no end to the ways that life can life us, and what do you think are just some ways that we can mentally prepare as clinicians to then be able to support our clients while, carrying out our session?
Well, the first thing is that if you are putting extra pressure on yourself to always have it together, release yourself of that.
Right. First and foremost.
I think that's the only way to actually prepare, because many times the things that go on in our life, we didn't see it coming, right? It's unexpected. So it's hard to prepare for something that you don't know is going to happen specifically. But we
Yes.
do know that it's something is going to happen. We may not know what it is, when it's going to happen, and that doesn't make you less of a clinician, less of a therapist, less of a helper
Yeah.
because something is happening in your life, and that it doesn't mean anything negative about you for you to reach out for help as well,
Mhm.
or you need to be able to assess where you are as a therapist. What is your capacity to do your job well while you're going through? But the first thing you have to do is release yourself of the almost perfectionist idea that
Yes.
I'm okay all the time.
I love that. I believe that somebody really needed to hear that because I know that sometimes we feel like if we don't have it together, then how are we helping other people? Aren't we being fake? Isn't that really kind of like an imposter? All of that starts coming up, but you're absolutely right. It's almost like you just told somebody out there who's listening, it's just like, wait, stop. That's an unrealistic belief that you are holding about what you are to do as you show up as a mental health professional. Yeah. So then, well, let me ask you this then, because I know that a number of clinicians actually on election day decided, okay, I'm not going to see any clients. And they may have even taken off the day after.
Mm-hmm.
Um, some people on the flip side actually piled themselves up and had a very busy schedule, and so how do you decide whether we're talking elections or whether we're talking, like I said before, marital issues or illnesses that have popped up along the way, but just how do we decide when it is actually time to like take off um, instead of pushing through? What are
Yeah.
some of those signs that should tell us, wait a minute, you probably need to slow down right now?
So I hope that most of us as therapists have a certain level of self-awareness.
Okay.
Okay, we got
Right.
to start there.
Right.
Not all of
Okay.
us do,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
but hopefully we have a certain level
Yeah.
of self-awareness to know that how do I typically respond in these kind of
Yeah.
situations,
And
right?
that's good because let me jump in and just say this too, Crystal, that some of the people who listen are also students.
Yeah.
So sometimes they are like, what is the self-awareness that I need to have?
Yeah.
You
Yeah. And this is why we say a therapist needs a therapist. So to have
know?
at least done some of this work to know where maybe your weaknesses are or where your tender spots are,
Mhm.
where your triggers are. And so when things like this come up, okay, I do need to take a day. So I
Yeah.
have one of my best friends is a therapist, and we were talking about election day. She said, yeah, I have clients into the evening. I usually don't even see clients in the evening, but I went ahead and said yes because I don't want to be sitting in front of the TV and I feel like
Mhm.
I'm actually doing something,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like, mm-mm,
Right.
having a light day.
Okay.
I'm going to have a light day. And I set myself up with a light day the next day, just in case, whether it was I stayed up too late watching
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
or it didn't go the way I necessarily wanted it to, whatever it
Mhm.
is. But that
Yes.
does come with, again, awareness and time in the field. So if a student is listening right now, one question that I ask maybe even people that I supervise is, um, what would you tell a client in this situation? So
Okay.
what
Yeah.
feelings do you have around the election, or what feelings do you have around that? And if that were to come up the day that you had to see some people,
Yeah. Yeah.
would you
Yeah.
truly be able to show up? Is that going to be therapeutic for you to show up for them? Or
Mhm.
is it going to
Mhm.
tap you out where you truly can't be in the space with them in a therapeutic way?
Okay. That's a good one for them to think about because it's also healthy boundaries, making sure that we are going to be able to show up and provide the care that we say that we are going to give, do no harm, all of that.
And that it's
Yeah.
focused on the
And
client and that
yeah,
it's really focused on them. I think we saw this
absolutely.
in COVID. We've seen it
Yeah.
in with other things going on in social
Oh, yeah.
justice, with the election, where we
Mhm.
are literally being affected by the same thing that our client is being affected by in real time.
And okay, and then that's a good one because that leads me to asking about, so when or is it ever do you feel appropriate to share these things with a client? Because excuse me, I know I had shared with you we had a passing away in the family. Someone passed away. I had to cancel and rearrange some of my clients, and some of my clients who are more longer standing. I noticed when I got back into the office, one of them especially was just like, I want to just start asking, "Are you okay?" Right?
Yeah.
And I thought that was very sweet. Sometimes I have some very kind clients, but
Yeah.
I'm very mindful to actually keep it short, sweet, and keep it
Yeah.
moving.
Yep.
Um, you know,
going back to like what you said, because it's like, this is not my session, this is yours. But I want to also acknowledge, yes, we are both human and you care just like I care about you. And that's okay. But, this is still your session. So,
Yeah, no, but
you
you
know,
made that point there, acknowledging our own humanity in the session. I think it's great to model that for our clients. We don't just come in and say, I'm fine, and you just had a death in the family. Or I know you just got over COVID, or I know
right.
you just had a baby, whatever it is, and you're just like, it's fine. Now, what about you? That's not mirroring true humanity and acknowledging our own experience for them. And that is part of our role as therapists.
Yes. Okay. So then that's where I think it goes into, how do you handle it ethically? And that's it. Being able to recognize that, yes, we are all humans. And so we're coming from a humanistic approach, but there's limits because this is still your session. And
Well,
so we can honor the fact that you care about me and thank you for that. And now let's transition to, but how are you doing?
exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Now, I know that you're also a Christian. So then, as a follower of Christ, how do you feel your faith has helped you kind of show up for other people? Even if there were times where your life wasn't always, always doing well. And I know that you're a wife, you're a mom. And so, you don't get through this world having connection with other people or having family and something doesn't happen. So, how has your faith, though, helped you to show up even when maybe things around you are not going well?
Well, I was like 2023 was probably one of the most difficult years, like in
Mhm.
probably every way. But
Okay.
for me to show up for my clients, and that I prayed more than I ever did before sessions, and I know without a shadow of a doubt that the Holy Spirit was working through
Yes.
me. I leaned more on that. Yes, I still know my books. I know techniques
Mhm.
like that.
Mhm.
But especially when I'm dealing with maybe someone with trauma or someone that is literally saying what I'm going through, like when they
Oh,
out of this
yes.
section, I gotta go deal with that too,
Yes.
right? And the human
Okay.
part is like, yes, girl,
Yeah. Right. Right.
I'm tired. Oh my God. And maybe I don't want to hear. There can be that human part of us as well. I
Yeah.
don't want to hear this that reminds me of what I'm.
Mhm.
So that's when I'm prayerful, like, God, you know where I am. And I'm putting my situation in your hands anyway, but
Mhm.
especially in this moment, I know you have called me to be this for this person.
Yes.
Please come
Absolutely.
in and fill the spaces that I don't have right now. And it shows up every time. Sometimes I don't
Mhm.
happen necessarily in the session, but they feel so much better. They
Right.
doing good. Okay, now I can go.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now let
That
me
is
go deal with my thing.
right. Right. Goodness. So really just leaning, like you said, into the safety, into the protection, into
Yeah,
the strength of the Lord when we are not strong.
yeah.
Let the Holy Spirit minister to your spirit and just fill in the gap.
Fill
Really,
in the
just
gaps,
fill
and
in.
sometimes it's just that presence that I know is
Mhm.
is with us. Where I don't even have to give necessarily as much as I thought I was going to have to in that moment.
Okay. So then, how would you encourage other Christian professionals to lean into their faith during challenging seasons? While they are still trying to keep their commitments to their clients, because
Mhm.
sometimes that is hard. Sometimes we have listeners who are Christ-centered in the way that they offer their counseling practices and in their personal life. We have some who are Christ-centered in their personal life, and they are still trying to navigate incorporating it into their professional life. And so sometimes we just need to hear it. So, like, what would you encourage them to do or to think on?
On how to incorporate it, or
Yeah, just how to encourage them to kind of lean into their faith in all aspects, in all seasons,
yeah.
whether those seasons are great or whether those seasons are really poor, while they're still trying to also stand strong for clients.
Well, he has prepared you for such a time as this.
Mm,
Going to leave you. If he led you here, he's not going to leave you there with not with what you don't have. So everything you need is already within you. And he's given you all the tools you need to be successful in each area of your life. If you lean into that relationship and being guided by that and not how you feel,
okay,
right?
right. That's that lean not into your own
Yeah,
understanding,
yeah,
right? Right.
right? But in that year, I had this peace that I truly did not understand. Even with all the chaos or the one thing after another, I'm okay though. I'm like, I really know that this is gonna be all right.
Mhm.
Faith is strong.
Yes.
Even as I'm acknowledging this is messed up. Like, I don't like this. And
Yes.
then also I believe it does give me another layer as a therapist to encourage people
Absolutely.
to acknowledge the negative, acknowledge the struggle,
Hmm.
acknowledge the bad, right? Because it's,
Yes.
well, you can still have strong faith. You can still believe that all things are working together for your good. And if
Yes.
I'm not saying that in session, that's what I'm saying in the session.
Yes.
I may not say that in
Yes.
scripture,
Yes.
depending on who I'm talking to.
Right. That's key, and
But
that's kind of
really,
confirmation. Yeah, I love that you said that because that almost is confirming just something that I was even thinking about as I had somebody ask me just recently, actually. They were like, "So I can still be troubled by this, but also move forward as well?" It's like,
mhm,
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, that's the
you
human part of it.
can be in grief. You can be grieving and living.
Oh man, you can be grieving and living. Okay, wait, all right. You're gonna have to tell me a little bit more about that because sometimes we do pause. Sometimes we pause right even down to the fact that we're not even breathing regularly. Like
Yeah.
we pause our life almost until how do you even encourage someone? I know this is about mental health professionals, but real quick, how do you you know, how do you encourage somebody to do that? Like you said, you can grieve and live. How?
So there's this, and I will send it to you. There's this illustration of that. It's called the lost cycle. Have you ever seen that?
No, I'm not.
Okay,
Okay.
so it's not the 5 stages of grief because that's actually based on the person that is dying, not the people that are grieving them. So when you think about that from that perspective, if you've been given a terminal diagnosis, you know you're going to die.
Yeah.
Now you look at the 5 stages of grief.
Okay. Okay, because usually when I've heard that, it has been for anyone who is
It was
grieving.
not developed for the people that are grieving the loss. It was
Ah,
for the person that is going to leave. And that
okay.
in that context, it makes much more sense that it would be short, might be it's that short and simple.
Yes.
But
Okay.
experience that we actually have in actually real life of grieving something is not 5 or 7 stages.
That's the
It
truth.
really can be a cycle. So one side of this is all these different emotional experiences that we have, right?
Okay.
And then when we get stuck at one, we cycle back through it. And so we're ending up in this swirl.
Okay.
You wonder
Wow.
why every time this comes up, I get back to denial. Like, this can't be real.
There you go.
Then I get mad all over again.
Yes.
And then I go through hopelessness again. And then,
Yeah.
okay, I'm like, okay, I got to snap out of it. I get busy. And then something hits me again. And I'm back at this can't be real.
Yep.
This is how people
Oh, yeah.
stay in the cycle. Whereas
Okay.
allowing yourself to fully feel each aspect of your grief or your loss cycle, acknowledge what is it that you're angry about. You can be angry at God, at ourselves, at other people, at the circumstance, and truly acknowledge each aspect of how this loss has affected you. That's what leads us to a place of acceptance. And then on this illustration, after you've surrendered to the truth
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that this person is gone, that relationship is no longer here, I lost the job, whatever that is, you are truly
Okay.
surrendered to, and that's not going to change.
Okay. All right.
Then
Truly
you,
surrendered though.
it's not going to change.
Okay.
Because our brain doesn't want to accept what has
Yeah.
happened, right? And so
That's good.
this is not going to change no matter how much I think about it, no matter how many bargaining things I say in my brain. If I had done this, it's not going to change. Now we can transition to the next part, which is what
Mm-hmm.
does my life look like with the loss?
That's important. That's that acceptance. That's full acceptance and moving forward. That's good. Because they're so, again, and it's reminding me of individuals who I know could benefit from it. Again, whether you got some word that maybe a child, whatever diagnosis that they're experiencing, whatever illness, is not going to be the version of the child that you had hoped for, right? Or relationship challenges or just a whole host of things where the challenge or the the weight that you have to carry is going to be carried for a little while. So I love how you said in this version, it helps you to see how sometimes you cycle through a little bit before you exit onto the next thing. Right?
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
that's
So
normal, and that's a normal,
yeah,
and it's a normal process.
I'm definitely okay. I will definitely make sure I get that and we'll
Yeah.
post that along with your episode. Yeah, that'll be wonderful. So then let me ask, how then do you help people to prioritize their self-care when they are still managing this heavy weight in their own personal life and struggle, but still trying to show up in their practice?
So it's number one, I would have people. So when I was working with a student, one of my supervisors, she had something going on in her life. I said, okay, so we need to first, let's start practically. What does your schedule look like?
Okay.
Who's on your schedule at what time? Are you,
Mm-hmm.
like, we might talk about a certain client or a couple, and I'm just like, did you eat lunch before you saw them? She's
Absolutely
like,
right.
oh. I said, what time are you seeing them? And who's right before? So you got somebody with a lot of childhood trauma. Then you go into
Mhm.
this high conflict couple, and then you
Yeah.
see, whoever it is, and this
Yeah.
is all within the same. And you didn't eat lunch. That's
Right.
right.
Goodness.
So sometimes it can be as simple as that. It's the way you set up your day. It's did you eat breakfast? Did you eat lunch? Did you get a break in between these two particular clients? Or maybe you need to see one at the first half of the day and the other one, or you need to switch this to the beginning of the week instead of your Friday or your last day.
Mhm.
We know the therapists we are at the beginning of the week could be very different than the therapists we are for our last one. It's
You have never lied. Right? Okay.
in a regular week, right?
Okay.
Thurs-
Okay.
My Thursday at 4 is definitely different than my Monday at 10,
Right.
and even different than my Wednesday at 12, right? Depending on what's happening in my life, the roles that we play outside of our life.
Yes. Yeah, that's absolutely
So,
true.
on the practical level, look at how your day is set up. And is that aligning with what you need, the space that you need to care for
Mhm.
throughout the day so that you can show up for them? And it really is about putting your well being as a priority so that you can prioritize them in the session.
That is so key. And it's funny how even when you talked about the therapist you are at the beginning of the week may not be the therapist you are at the end of the week. And I know people are hearing it, but it's like we got to really slow down and hear that, and what it also reminded me of the therapist that you are for those of us who've been doing this for quite some time, the therapist that I was when I was like, I don't know, late 20s, early 30s, that's
Yeah.
not who I am today. So many things have happened since that. And I have to make sure to watch how I do things. I can't burn the candle at both ends the way I used to just jet set and do before. Like,
Nope.
are you even keeping up with your developmental stage when you're caring for yourself, right? Do
But
you need a nap in the middle of the day?
maybe I didn't get sleep because I had night sweats that night, Like, I didn't
Right.
sleep well. I've been up since 3. Come on.
Man, okay.
We talk about, but this is that self-awareness that we're talking about. If we're talking to young therapists or students, you are going to evolve and change, even
Right.
as a woman, as a person, as a therapist, as a Christian, as all these
Yes.
different identities that we have.
Right.
It's going to inform your work as a therapist. You got to acknowledge it first. Yes, I am perimenopausal. It
Hello.
has an effect on my mood, my sleep, all of these things, and I need to be aware of that.
Right. These are now see, this takes me right into I was going to ask you about boundaries, but these are also a part of that because you knowing this about yourself means that sometimes you're not going to be able to put the schedule together the way you want it to because you need something different. You're going to have to say no, maybe to that 6 p.m. you used to always take, and now you can't do that anymore.
And don't,
You have to have those boundaries in place to know how far can I go in this season? And what ways, not even how far can I go as though I'm limited, but maybe I need a pivot. and do a little something different in this new season, right?
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
that's
Absolutely.
key.
Does this align with my values right now? Does this align with, like, I mean, if you're a new mom or even a mom that, or maybe your children are getting ready to leave and you want to spend more time with them. Maybe I
Yeah.
need to condense my schedule so that I'm not working as much. There's a lot of, again, it's okay for us to prioritize ourselves as
Yeah.
we serve other people. It's
I think sometimes we make that very optional. Like we know it, but we're like, okay, I'm gonna get to it. And then when we break down and can't go any further, then we realize, no, it really was never optional. You were kind of always playing a little Russian roulette with that because you were pushing it.
absolutely.
And so, okay. So
Even
then
with, let me just add this one more thing.
oh,
Even
sure, absolutely.
what the clients that we take, something else that I was telling that student, and I've had to say for myself, there are certain seasons where I don't maybe not take as many clients or many new clients or certain kinds of clients. And unless
Yes.
you work for a business that
Mm-hmm.
you take it any, I mean,
Right.
and everyone doesn't have that privilege or luxury.
Mhm.
But if
Right.
you can, like there was a season I was like, I can't see, I love I love couples,
Mm-hmm.
but the amount of energy
Mm-hmm.
with
Yes.
or I only have one at a time. I can't
Mm-hmm.
y'all now. Like,
Yes.
or
Okay.
children of a certain age or certain diagnoses.
Yes.
I don't have it to
Yes.
be helpful. Let me refer. And that's ethically, we always need to be aware of, are we in the place to be able to properly serve a certain population? If we
That's good.
not, just refer, somebody else is in a good place for it. And it's okay. It's okay to say
That's
no.
good.
And I'm
Yeah.
not the person.
Okay. Without fear, because the way you said it was just like confident, like I'm not fearful of that. I'm confident in knowing this is not where I'm at in this season of my life, and someone else can do it. And I think that goes to, so in my mind, as you say that, what I'm thinking is, and don't be afraid that more people won't come. It's like, well, but if I give this up, then what will happen? You know,
A
um,
scarcity mindset.
yes. But if you're confident in who you are supposed to serve at that season of your life, that's the people that will come to you then. Those with,
They show up. They show up when they're supposed to show up. It's amazing sometimes. When I need a light week, somehow I just have it.
yes.
And I'm sure that happened to you. Like when
Yes,
you,
it has.
I'm not sure if I can do it this week. And
Right,
all of a sudden,
right, right, right.
yes, I am fine
Yeah.
with you rescheduling. Yes.
Now I'll tell you, you are so spot on. I feel like, man, have you been just spying in on my life sometimes because I will do that, or the Lord will even tell me, like, you really need to scale back this week, and it's like, oh, but I
I don't
really
want
need to
to do
do
this.
this. Right, and lo and behold, folks need to reschedule.
Some-
All of a sudden, this happened or that happened or whatever, and it ended up being a light week anyway, and felt like it was something I really needed. And I'm like, well, all right. Well, Lord, you do know what you are talking about, so I'm gonna go ahead and lean on into that. And so, but
And then
yeah,
still book the next week. Like that's
absolutely,
where, that's where letting that fear go. It's
absolutely,
okay. The light when the because that's our business. That's private practice, right? It's
yeah.
ebbs and flows, but no, in the end, it all comes together.
It does all come together. And definitely, since we walk with our faith, we walk with the Lord and we exercise faith in him. He really does fill in gaps where we think we know, and we're used to doing things and orchestrating. We're business owners, we're running households and all the different things. We still don't know everything. So, so he helps us out when he's
He
like, yeah,
reminds us that all the time. This is
yeah,
you're not in control.
I'm
Okay.
not in, I'm not in control. There you go. You're not running the world. That's all right. Okay. So then let me ask this. So if somebody happens to be struggling over the guilt of it, because that's something else that comes up for mental health professionals, is if they have to put these boundaries in place and if
Yeah.
they have to take care of themselves, they may find that they feel real guilty over having to do that and kind of, you know, um, concerned that something will happen or clients will have difficulties or they, just wouldn't know what to do. How do you navigate that? How do you navigate the guilt?
Well, I would say the same thing I say either to myself or someone else or clients, but something I say a lot is guilt is reserved for doing something wrong.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
Purpose of it. It's not a
Yeah.
bad emotion because there's no bad emotion, but it
Yeah.
serves a certain purpose and it's for when you've done something wrong.
I like that. So
And
that
so then the
challenges you.
right, so then the question you ask is it wrong for me to take time to heal? Is it wrong for me to take 2 weeks off? Make sure my clients are either that they're in a good place or that they have someone to talk to or, and then tend to my needs so that I can. Is that wrong?
Okay. And it's not wrong,
I would,
right?
I
So
would
then
hope
that,
I would hope you would say no.
right,
So
right, right.
then the guilt is unwarranted and now it's just on you to release that.
I like that. Guilt is reserved for doing something wrong. Yep. But if you have no proof of that, then there is nothing wrong that you're doing. Yeah. And you have to move forward in that. That's good. So then, while I clearly could talk to you more, because I'm like, all right, Crystal is on a roll. So, but tell you know, if there's anything else that you want to share at this time, please feel free to share it. But if, otherwise, tell us where we can connect with you. Because I know you have a practice here, but I know you have other initiatives. You've also, been on television stations giving the same, expertise on different topics. So, um, whatever you would like to close us out with and where we can find more as it relates to connecting with you.
So the last thing I'd love to leave people with, especially when it comes to taking care of yourself, is that if you are living your life or even just a certain season by if you use these three words a lot, should, supposed to, and have to,
Mm.
then you are taking all of your choices away. You're living a life as if you have no choices. And then that makes it feel like it's not your own. And that leads to discontent, depression, all of these things, because everything is a should, supposed to, or have to.
Mm. That's good.
I should be doing this for them. Probably means you're not. So it's more important to
Yeah.
figure out why you're not than, as we would say, shoulding all over yourself,
Yeah.
right? You
Yes.
remember that.
Yes.
So instead of should, supposed to, or have to, you want to lean into want to, need to, and get to.
Okay. Want to, need to, and get to. Okay. We're going to have all kinds of nice little quotes from you. Okay. Yeah, all right.
So want to,
Awesome.
need to, and get to. I want a vacation. Do I need a vacation? Do I get to take a vacation because I'm in private practice and I can set up my own schedule? Choice. Instead of
Yeah.
be going on a vacation,
Well,
I'm not supposed to leave because my clients need me. I have to stay here, right?
mm-hmm.
We would want to leave everyone with that. So if you're going through something, you
Yes.
should be leaning more into the shoulds. I should be okay. I should have it all together. But
Right.
what do you
Right.
actually need right now? I need support. I
Right.
need some time.
Yep.
I don't want to necessarily have to be a therapist right now while I'm going through something. And so what do I get to do because I have a choice?
I love that. So that even is pushing us to, again, going back to, like you're saying, living, even though earlier we were talking about it as it relates to grief, but what you're saying right here is like it keeps the mind moving forward to the things we can do something about
Yeah,
instead of lamenting over the things that we can't. Yeah, that's awesome.
absolutely.
Thank you.
People
Thank you
welcome.
so much. Now, how do we find out more about you?
All right. So you can follow me on social media. I'm on Facebook. I'm on TikTok and Instagram, Crystal LPC, CHRYSTOL LPC. I have a guided journal called Embrace the Calm, and it's for overwhelmed women to cultivate joy and reduce stress. And so
Oh,
it's 90 days to lead you through a process of identifying your stressors, what you can do about those, and then how to create a life of joy, actual,
oh, wow.
and
Nice.
reduce stress at the same time.
Can all of that be found on your website?
Yes, and you can order the journal on Amazon
Okay.
and
Okay.
just look up
Oh,
Embrace the Calm, Crystal, or you can put my name in. Nobody spells their name like mine.
okay. Okay.
Crystal Wilson-Payne. And yeah, I do speaking engagements, other podcasts. I love just
Mhm.
encouraging people to be embrace their humanity. We are human beings.
Yes.
And just
Yeah.
it's okay to just be. You don't
Yes.
have to be doing.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time today
Thank you for
for
having
sitting and
me.
talking to us. Absolutely.
May God bless this endeavor. I love what you're doing here.
Thank you so much. I receive it.